Hello, welcome to AWS Made Easy, episode number 53, and we're live from beautiful Toronto, Ontario. And Rahul, how are you doing today?
Hey everyone, doing very well. I am a little jet lagged. I just got off a 14 and a half hour flight from Dubai to Toronto and came into this hotel
Is it?
literally an hour before this. So a little jet lagged, but couldn't be more excited to be here.
Yeah,
And I have my coffee, so totally amped up.
fantastic. We're going to spend a bit of time this episode talking about what regional summits are like and what to expect. So for those of you, if it's your first time tomorrow, or if you've been to some of the other regional summits, we'll talk about those. So yeah, we've been traveling. We had London last week. That was really successful. We missed you there, Rahul. That was a really good one.
Yes, I was in fact at that very time I was in Seattle and Austin last week with some really amazing stuff happening with the AWS teams. But yeah, London was awesome, and I was keeping track of everything that was going on over there. You guys seem to have had quite a blast.
Yeah, it was great. We had a really, really busy booth and good reception over at Boken. Lots of meeting people. I wish I had more time to go to the speaking sessions, but our booth was so packed. It was just enough time to grab a drink of water and rehydrate.
And
So
not to mention the epic after party.
yes, so good problems and good stresses to have. Well,
Absolutely.
Before we jump into talking about Toronto, I want to do a few little announcements. Let's put these on stream. On the stream, we've got some really fun content that's come out. Let's put. Yeah, let me share the screen here. There we go. Well, we've got some of the content is the new episode of AWS Insiders. This is The Price is Wrong, which is how to save on AWS. This was such a fun episode. I've been dying to talk about it. So now that it's out, go listen to it. This has been really exciting. It's about FinOps smell. So what's the FinOps smell, Rahul?
Yeah, so I think, like I said, this is probably one of the funnest episodes that we've done so far on the podcast. And when we talk about FinOps smell, what we are talking about is certain patterns or certain things that we see in AWS bills that we think are anti-patterns. Just like you have code smells, where you look at certain ways that that code is written and you treat them as anti-patterns. We see similar patterns in AWS builds, and that's basically what we cover in this particular episode in a very, very fun way. So, I again, this breaks the traditional podcast format that we have for AWS Insiders, and I absolutely loved the way we did this particular episode. So go listen to it. Hope you enjoy it. We'd love to get your feedback on it. If you like this kind of a format, you like this energy, this way of presenting interesting content, then please let us know. We would love to do more
Yeah, I
in
think
this format.
I agree with everything you said there. It's good content. It's fun. It's engaging. This isn't one you can just turn on and leave in the background. I think this is worth just sitting down and enjoying for what it is. So yeah, check,
Absolutely.
check that out. Put the link in the comments. Another bit of content we have another in our foundation series, and in this one, so foundation series is on our Cloud Fix blog. We talk about often we blog about finder fixers, to different ways to realize cost savings. But we launched this series called the Foundation Series, and the idea is key skills that are some of the building blocks or foundations of other finder fixers that are really important to know for your AWS usage. And last week was CloudWatch, and this one is Systems Manager. Now, this one was tricky to write because you have to really rein in how much you talk about, because there's no use in rewriting the documentation. So this was a curated set of things for Systems Manager. So we talked about in the last blog post, we said CloudWatch is like your nervous system of an AWS deployment. So it's got all of the sensors and feelers out there, knowing what's going on. And so then Systems Manager is kind of like the brain. So it's
Yeah.
taking those inputs from the nervous system, and then it's in a position to say, well, what do I do about that?
Yeah.
So,
And also to remember, the systems manager is basically a collection of tools. It's almost like a it's a collection of a whole bunch of different services that go under the systems manager umbrella. And they are the reason why we started calling them foundational series is because without a good understanding of systems manager and CloudWatch, it's really difficult to have all the data that you need instrumented in just the right way so that you can make informed decisions about what resources are candidates for optimization and then exactly how to execute those optimizations. So all your tools like, the SSM documents, the SSM agents, and change manager all come under the broader systems manager umbrella.
That's the one criticism of systems manager that I've heard is that there's a lot. There is one of the names of the tool is systems manager change manager.
Correct.
with Corey Quinn, and he's like, you really have to use manager twice in the same name, but that's a fair criticism. But it is, this is
no, but it's really important to understand these because unless you're using systems manager in the right way, it's really difficult to get organization-wide, account-wide information that you will absolutely need to make good optimization decisions about your accounts.
Well, I'll put the link in the comments. And then part of the content here is just making sure that the agent is running, make sure that the agent exists in a VPC that can actually get data back to the systems manager service. So those guides are all there for you. So check that out as well. And please, same thing, always interested in feedback. What can we do better? What would you like to see more of? So please reach out to me or Rahul if you have any of that. We'd love to hear it. We'd like to continuously improve. All right. Well, let's talk about AWS Summits. So this one that we're here is Toronto. I'll put up the page. And interesting, right. I just saw this on the page today. They have hit capacity on the Toronto Summit.
So absolutely. So this is part of our nonstop tour, right? We just spoke about London. So this is the CloudFix nonstop tour. We were in London last week. This week we are in Toronto. And a lot of exciting stuff planned over here, isn't it?
Yeah, so in Toronto, we have got come by our booth. We'll talk about that in a second, and come by a great reception. We've got a good reception at the Black Pearl. I wanted to share a quick video that I did in preparation for the trip. If you don't mind, Rahul?
Go right ahead.
All right.
Well, Pam, there's really only a few things you need to know about Canada. There's Newfoundland and Labrador, Saskatchewan, Ontario, Quebec, Alberta, Manitoba, New Brunswick, and Nova Scotia. Prince Edward Island is very small, but British Columbia tops them all. Oh.
There's TimeStream and there's Document, Aurora, Redshift, RDS, Elasticache, MemoryDB, make data lakes with Redshift. NetTune is still very small, but DynamoDB tops them all. And visit us at the CloudFix Savings booth and the Black Pearl afterwards. That looks like a lot of fun. All right, see you in Toronto. Before I finish up my story, you should know the territories. There we go. So that was our fun little promo, getting Dwight to help me memorize all the states and territories. And then I had to do a little database parody. That's our non-stop savings tour. We're here in Toronto. The event is packed today, so you can't even register anymore. But we'll be giving you live coverage on our LinkedIn, on our social media. So hopefully you don't feel like you missed out.
And if you can't make it to the show floor, you can still register, I believe, on the CloudFix website for the reception and the after party. You'll still have a bunch of AWS folks over there. You'll have all the CloudFix folks and a bunch of other customers. So if you missed out on the main show, you can absolutely come and see us at the reception.
Absolutely. And the link is, I put that in the comments. I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about, so why do we do these regional summits and how are they different than reInvent? So I think at regional summits, we've got speakers, we've got the expo floors. That's where you see us and a lot of other AWS related folks. We've got learning. There's a great Ask an Architect booth. So some of our AWS friends there, they set up this big Ask an Architect area, and you can go over there and say you have a networking question or a security question or a VPC question, you can just go over there. They've got little signs underneath each person's area, and they'll have a few specialists from each area. So you can ask an architect. Of course, there's networking. There's our evening reception. So there's other summits as well. So last week there was London and DC. New York is coming up.
Right.
There's Taiwan, Sao Paulo, Mexico City. So
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, unlike reInvent, reInvent now has gotten to be insanely big with 60,000 plus folks kind of being there. So getting dedicated time with the AWS teams and networking with peers from, similar geographies where you might have all kinds of discussions that need to be specific to your geography or wherever you're kind of building your teams, building your skills. You don't get that kind of coverage at reInvent. And I think AWS Summits are a great add-on to the overall outreach from the AWS teams, where you not only have partners, you have ISVs, you have other customers all coming in with very geography-specific conversations, very geography-specific skills, and you get more one-on-one time with every one of these parties. They are smaller groups. You can spend dedicated time speaking to them. And it's kind of why I like the AWS Summits. And so we're doing the nonstop tour across a bunch of these summits this year, and hope to see you all in at least one of them.
Absolutely. And looking at the speakers, kind of following up on what you said, the speakers, we have Wayne Duso from AWS, and he's focusing on storage and data. And we have Neelam Sandhu from BlackBerry. And then we have Dave Munn and Bob Blaney, both from Royal Bank of Canada. And so looking at the speakers kind of in totality, the message that I'm getting are, well, first of all, there's data, machine learning, and also data governance. So knowing these are all from highly regulated industries. So in this case, telecommunications and banking. And so like you said, there's going to be other people from Royal Bank of Canada there. I'm sure they're sending a handful, and other Canadian banks. So they'll be able to talk to each other. How are you dealing with the latest regulations or regulatory requirements? In telecom, same thing.
Exactly.
It's a great opportunity to network with people who are literally facing the exact same regulatory environment that you are.
Exactly. And there's tons of learning to be had from, the group of folks who actually are at the summit. Last year we did at the summit in Anaheim, which was a huge, huge success. I think a lot of customers, came in as new AWS customers, and they were like, we just here to learn and understand what this is all about. And when they heard from customers within their setup, within their geographies, they heard about what they were doing. They got a lot more excited about how to leverage the cloud. They learned a lot, and they then went back and implemented a bunch of solutions with AWS services. And I think that's an amazing learning. There are other customers with higher levels of maturity that came in and learned from, other vendors and other practitioners about what they can do better. And they got the dedicated one-on-one time, which is really hard to get at reInvent. reInvent tries to give you the greatest breadth possible, but it's really hard to go deep. And these AWS summits make it easier to kind of go a little deeper and get some foundations and get the help that you need to kickstart your development journey.
That absolutely. I met someone who came to our FinOps roundtable in London, and she said, I'm just starting. Within the last few months, I'm at a 99% on-prem shop. They've assigned me to be the cloud person at this shop. I just want to learn the terminology. And it's neat. Someone who's just starting out can get that much out of it, and then someone who has a very esoteric need to learn about event bridge pipes or something very specific can go and ask an architect and have a detailed discussion about that. So you have the entire end of the spectrum. So don't think that it's too early in your cloud journey to come, or too late. There's always something to be had from it.
I can tell you that 15 years of doing this with AWS and working so closely with different product teams, I still learn so much out of these summits that Yeah, I would encourage you to go to the nearest summit near you and spend some time with the AWS team and build your networks.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my LinkedIn's been quite busy since London. Still kind of processing all the requests to London, and part of that busyness is the expo floor. So I wanted to talk about what's the expo floor like. So that is it's busy. It's a big, wide open space in the convention center, and lots of vendors will have booths set up, and it's a really efficient way of figuring out what's out there, having a lot of conversations quickly, who's doing what, and be able to really, both from a presenter side, like I really appreciate the opportunity to have a lot of conversations quickly, and I'm still surprised at the different contexts that people are using, in which people are using the cloud, and the different ways that people have gotten there. Like last week, I spoke to someone who was running a charitable organization that was attached to the British royal family, and they were trying to figure out how to use their cloud more effectively and spend more effectively. I thought, wow, that's never heard of, the royal family using the cloud. That's pretty neat. I don't know if they're using it directly, but it's all these different businesses and use cases that come up, and you get to talk to them really quickly. And the great thing is, since a lot of your colleagues are there, if someone comes up to you and asks a question, you say, okay, I could probably answer, but my colleague is much better equipped. I'm going to grab them, tap them on the shoulder. Hey, let's swap out so you can talk to the subject matter expert right away, and you get that immediately without having to deal with Calendly and all the scheduling that you normally have to do to make that happen, and all the discovery. It's just right there. So go visit the booths, talk to people. Like I said, a lot of the times the people you're talking to, it's just a great way to kind of start all of these conversations, and then you pick them up later offline when it's not as loud.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
All right. Well, anything else? Oh, and of course, look for people wearing this blue, this CloudFix blue. That'll be our booth. So we've all got matching blue CloudFix polo shirts. So come track any one of us down and ask about our CloudFix nonstop savings booth. And then plus we've got great swag. So come see. You'll be
yes. So CloudFix is known for its amazing swag and the incredible after parties that we host after every one of these events. So please come meet with us, learn about CloudFix, and we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to learn from what you are trying to do in AWS. Yeah, we'd love your feedback.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that really covers the regional summits. So let's jump into some articles for the day. This will be a shorter one because we both have to go register and set up the booth. So let's talk about some neat articles that jumped out. The first one is going to be the Falcon 40B foundation model. Let's put this up on the screen. Here we are, Falcon 40B foundation model available from TII on SageMaker Jumpstart. So we are in what's the right word for it? There's so much going on in LLMs right now. It's such a cool thing.
The hype cycle?
Yes. Well, I think both. Or the hype cycle, the innovation cycle, whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
Probably some of both. But there's a lot happening right now. And so here's the next model that you can get, the Falcon 40B. And so this announcement, they've got, you can use this model in SageMaker Jumpstart, and they've got a great link to how do you actually use it. So if we look at this this code sample that they provided, they said, okay, how do you interact with an LLM? You give it some input text. You give it, okay, how much text do you want it to generate? And then it's going to, if you have the parameters, and then it's going to basically try to answer your question, fill in the blanks, to predict which words comes next. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
And now you have access to this via a SageMaker notebook. It's there.
SageMaker Jumpstart is pretty neat when it comes to these new LLMs. So one of the challenges of the new LLMs, whether it be OpenAI's GPT 3.5, 4, or a bunch of others, is they are proprietary and only available via select APIs. Those APIs have limits. So for a lot of applications that are coming out right now, scaling is starting to become a big problem. Second, the cost of actually calling these APIs at scale is pretty staggering, to say the least. So with the Jumpstart model, the fact that you can take a bunch of these open source models that are now available on Hugging Face, bring them into SageMaker, run them, host them, and kind of figure out how to tune them for your scale and your price points, I think that's a big deal. So in the longer run, I actually see a lot of use of SageMaker and Bedrock being the foundations for where you host and run your models and operate them at scale at price points that are reasonable for the long run. For the short term, yes, there are a bunch of these models that are out there, which it's good to try out and figure out how you're going to leverage them. But longer term, I still see a future in AWS.
Well, and especially to use some AWS phraseology, there's the undifferentiated heavy lifting of actually getting the model to a machine and getting all of the environment set up so that it can work. And that's just stuff that you don't really want to spend time on. And so being able to jump right into a notebook that's hosted on an adequate machine, I'm very excited about that. It's funny just thinking the progression, as a younger tech person, I would have thought, okay, I want to run this myself on my local hardware, get this all set up locally. I probably would have spent a week doing that in order to, and completely evaporated any savings I would have got from doing it myself. I still think it's a useful exercise when you have the time, but when you just want to jump right in and start saying, okay, what is the core of this technology and what can it do and how do I learn more? Jump right into a SageMaker notebook.
Yeah.
Well, how are we going to rate this one?
I think this definitely simplifies. Getting started is super trivial, so it definitely simplifies. And I love the examples, as always. So I would give this a 4 out of 5.
All right, that's pretty good. Yeah, there's links to the examples, and I really like they're linking to an external resource. So,
right,
linking to the LLM dashboard. I think that's pretty neat. The Hugging Face Open LLM dashboard.
Right.
So,
yeah, and the fact that they have Jumpstart documentation, the external, documentation for Hugging Face in the dashboard and how they are ranked, and the TII link as well. I think that's great. I think that it would take anyone minutes to get started with this and start trying stuff out.
Absolutely. All right, well, let's check out the next one, which is QuickSight. Now, this is a very short one, but don't let that fool you. This is QuickSight. This is useful. So QuickSight now provides standard user-level cost and usage data. So,
right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so this one is relatively straightforward. One of the biggest cost drivers in QuickSight is the number of users that you have. And now that you can get user-level cost and usage, that's a big deal. You have a better understanding of where you're spending money. We did a blog post recently where CloudFix has a finder and fixer to remove unused users out of CloudFix and saves you a bunch of money as you're doing that. So I would recommend you read through that so that you really understand what the core cost drivers are. There are authors, there are readers, they have different price points. There are caps for specific kinds of users and so on for how much they're going to get charged. There's a concept of sessions in one kind of pricing. You have to understand how the session pricing applies. So to really understand QuickSight, and this is, by the way, feedback that we shared with them, I think 10 days ago. But in general, they are still working to simplify a lot of the pricing. But the first step to doing that is giving customers easy visibility about how they're being charged, where their costs are, so that they can figure out better models, and at the same time, the customers can figure out ways to operate their users and sessions more effectively.
And having talked to many TAMs over the last month or two, that's
Right.
one of the things they keep saying to Tam's technical account manager, Meredith Holborn from episode 48. She's a Tam. The idea is that they're trying to help their customers save money, and one of the advice they give is figure out your QuickSight users' usage, because it's so easy to add. It's so easy to add a user. If someone says, "Hey, I want to look at this dashboard," and say, "Okay, sure, I'll make you an account," and they might only look at the dashboard once, and then you're on the hook for, depending on if you're enterprise or not, somewhere between $9 and $24 a month forever.
Right.
And that could have been just for a one-off glancing at a dashboard. So you really want to be able to rein those costs in through automation, through visibility. So
Correct.
There's transparency into how that works is the first step. So have a look at the QuickSight standard user level cost and usage data.
Correct. I'd give this one a simplifies as well. And I'd probably give this a 3.5. Purely because, I mean, it would be good to see a report. And here they have a guide to how to create those over there. And you have the Kudos dashboard and QuickSight that's already in place. So this should be an easy step to get started with these.
And I like that it has this link, like you said, to the Kudos dashboards, the Cloud Intelligence dashboards.
Yeah.
So have a look at that. Those are really handy.
Yeah, and I think we covered a bunch of the details around the Kudos dashboard with Meredith a few weeks ago. So if you haven't seen that episode where we deep dive and get the demo of what the Kudos dashboard looks like and what it covers, you should go check out the live stream. Was it episode
48?
Right, 48.
48.
Great. So you should check out episode number 48 of AWS Made Easy. We did cover the Kudos dashboard with Meredith on that particular episode.
All right. Well, last one for the day is billing and costs. Bulk update scripts, update policies per new AWS billing and cost management permissions. So this is one of these changes that has been announced for a while, and we've covered updates to this change in various episodes. But AWS is retiring IAM actions for AWS billing, cost management, and account consoles. So there, a few of these IAM actions are going to be retired. I've been impressed by how much warning they've been giving everyone.
Correct. And just to note, this is specific only to console access for billing. Typically, you would give some folks in your finance team certain access to some dashboards and some of the actions. And now that those are retiring, you now have more granular IAM permissions that you can grant them to get them specific access to specific accounts and specific aspects of the billing as well. So you get a lot more granular control, much better governance that gets put in place. And this has been ongoing for nearly 6 months, I think, since they first announced this change. So there's been plenty of warning. If you haven't yet gotten to making these changes for your teams, please do that right away.
Yeah, and it's such a good idea to be able to, especially for sensitive financial data, to be able to have as much control over that as you would need. So I think the previous ones were too broad in giving access to, if you want to view purchase orders, that's a lot, right?
Correct.
You want to be able to filter that in a bit more granular way. And so now with this change, you can. So
exactly.
All right, what are we going to give this one? I like that they've been very
I like that they've been posting it over and over again,
yeah,
just to remind everyone. So it definitely makes it easy for everyone to follow and get this.
Plus links to more documentation. So yeah, and you get actual code in the Git repository here. So you have an actual code that you can then use to you get these scripts which can help you migrate your users across. The scripts will enable affected policies, so that way you can know exactly where you need to make your changes.
Exactly.
All right. So That simplifies.
This is a 4, quite easily. Really straightforward.
All right. Well, we need to go set up our booth. So, and looking forward to that, to setting up our booth, and then we will hopefully see you, for all of you in Canada, in the Toronto area. We will hopefully see you tomorrow. So please swing by our booth. Look for the folks in the blue shirts, and me or any of my colleagues. We'd love to tell you about how you can use CloudFix to realize nonstop cost savings.
Absolutely. And once again, a reminder, we have our nonstop tour across different cities. So if you haven't registered for New York or the after party tomorrow, for Toronto, please do so. And we also are going to be at FinOps X in San Diego later this month, between the 27th and the 30th. So if you haven't registered for FinOps X, I think they've already entered the waitlist section of FinOps X. So if you haven't registered yet, come over, do that right away, and join us in San Diego. We're going to be there in person as well. So look forward to seeing you all over there.
All right. Well, have a good afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Bye.
Is your AWS public cloud bill growing? While most solutions focus on visibility, CloudFix saves you 10 to 20% on your AWS bill by finding and implementing AWS recommended fixes that are 100% safe. There's zero downtime and zero degradation in performance. We've helped organizations save millions of dollars across tens of thousands of AWS instances. Interested in seeing how much money you can save? Visit cloudfix.com to schedule a free assessment and see your yearly savings.